Holy Spirit, and Baba Marcus Akinlana in the house representing the Maroon Band. And that's just one thing. That's just the tip of the iceberg, because if y'all know them like I know them, we all know them to do a whole lot out here, including giving spiritual guidance when needed and requested, including celebrating our ancestors and Orishas and reminding us why we should. I mean, these folks right here, including both of them are visual artists, right? And both of them are vocal artists. Both of them are musicians. I mean, I'm full of spirit up in here. That's all I got to say. So with that, we're going to welcome Sula and Baba Marcus. Welcome to Sound Theory Radio, y'all. Welcome.
All right, how y'all doing out there?
It's an honor to be up here with the one and only DJ I.
Yes.
I've had the honor of being in some of your funky sets. So I know how you do what you do. I know how you put the chili sauce.
Give thanks, you know.
On the spot.
I try, you know.
On your chili sauce.
I'm only inspired by those around me, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So it's only a reflection.
You call that synergetic funk.
You heard me, bro? All right, yeah. You heard me.
Synergetic funk, baby.
So let's get into this right here. What's up with the Maroons, bro? Why? First of all, we have the name Maroons as for me anyway, has been coming up in my cipher very often in the last week. Just before running into you, actually at Congo Square, Baba.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what that means, but of course when I saw Baba, I was just like, well, I gotta have y'all on the show, you know. So, but why the name Maroons, and what's the story behind this? What's going on?
So a lot of people don't know some of the depth of the power of this place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's becoming more well known that the indigenous name for this place is Bulbancha.
Oh.
Okay? What you call Bulbancha, the land of many tongues.
Oh.
And the name that was here preceding colonization.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when colonization came here, it was like what people call El Choque, the crash. You know, it was like a traumatic crash, like a nuclear bomb dropping off in this bayou area in Bulbancha.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, some of our Egun, our ancestors, left and went to the bayou during the days of slavery. Mm-hmm. And they sought Omira, freedom there. And as it turns out, we had more Maroons, that's what they call them, cimarrones, from the Spanish means runaway cow.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they call them. So a lot of people don't like that name. They will use other names like Quilombos or things like that. But yeah, I guess for us it's become a name that has so much endearment that we've stuck with it. So it comes from cimarrones, mm-hmm. Spanish, runaway vaca, cow. And these Maroons, they went into the bush and basically built many states, M-I-N-I, states. And we had more Maroons per capita here in Bulbancha. I'm going to say it again in case this is the first time hearing this indigenous name, Bulbancha, aka Louisiana. We had more Maroons per capita here than Haiti or Jamaica. Now, you know, Jamaica is famous for the Maroons. They're the great freedom fighters that they had with Queen Nani and like that. And Haiti is, well, you know, Haiti is Haiti. They made their ultimate mark on the world with the Haitian Revolution. But we had more Maroons per capita here than either Haiti or Jamaica. And I don't bring that up as some kind of like, you know, competition, who was the baddest and all like that. I just bring it up to the fact that it's not known about the Maroon tradition here.
And I also want to say that in this time where we are facing so many opposition, so much oppression, And those of us that push against the system are also Maroons. We are the modern day Maroons in this time, and that's why we decided to call our group the Maroons, because it was birthed out actually out of a liberation ceremony, I guess you would say, that Bob and I, it's been almost 2 years, maybe more
I was
than
going to
that
ask
now.
that next.
Yeah,
How long?
at least 2 years, right?
Alright.
Since the
But
pandemic
Bob and
started,
I,
yeah.
Oh, bless him.
you know, his fellow priest, he just called me and said, you know, let's come together and do a
I
healing
remember
band
seeing
day.
your lives on Instagram,
Right.
visiting each other.
Yeah, and he was he just called me and said, let's do a healing bembe for the world, to help to heal the world. Let's bring healing to the world. Let's allow people to know that we're praying for their families. So people sent in donations for prayers for their families, and it turned out to be a great concept and got really big. And from there, we said, well, you know what? Let's do a second one. Let's dedicate the second, because the first one was all Òrìṣà music, and it was almost a 2-hour show. What did you say? At least that,
Yes.
right? And then we said, well, this was so successful. So many people got healed from it. We also received a healing from it. Let's do a second one.
Yeah.
So he said, Baba Marcus, Baba Ṣàngódoyin said, let's dedicate the next one to the Maroons. And he started educating me about the history of San Malo and Saint Cecilia, and he can talk more about that. But they were the most well-known Maroons here. There are many Maroon communities here. But in this time, we say that we are the modern-day Maroons because we are pushing against the system. We are pushing against the way things are currently happening. And what that means for us is calling on the power of our ancestors, which we call in the Yoruba tradition Egun. But our movement is about calling on forces greater than ourselves to come and fight on our behalf. And so, we have fun doing it, but the theme is very, very intentional. That we are doing this music that's going to not only liberate us and our people, but liberate hopefully the entire, thread of humanity.
Yes, indeed.
So maybe you can talk a little bit about San Malo and Saint Cecilia.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I'm gonna go. So all the historians out there, you're gonna have to cut me a little slack. I didn't get a chance to go do my memorization. So I'm gonna go straight off
Off the dome.
the dome.
Okay,
Straight off the dome. So
The dome is
yeah,
beautiful.
so you're talking about in New Orleans was colonized late 1600s, early 1700s about, and at one point the Spanish took over. That might have been from memory now, like I said, y'all. I get the date messed up. Give me a little slack. I think 1763, right? And so during that time, the Maroons took over large parts of what is now St. Bernard Parish.
Wow.
And San Malo was married to Cecilia. And they were two of the more well-known leaders in the Maroons, but they were Maroon encampments through various places throughout Louisiana and the Bayou. One of the greatest scholars and historians, or historians, who has dedicated a large track of her life's work to documenting this, is the great Dr. Gwendolyn Midlo Hall, who wrote the book Africans in Colonial Louisiana. But she also put an online database about the Maroons. So a lot of information I got from her work. Okay? All right. And so basically San Malo was the ultimate badass. Okay? Warrior. And San Malo was famous for putting a hatchet in a tree. I sculpted a hatchet and put it in a tree as a sculpture. He's famous for putting a hatchet in a tree in the eastern section of New Orleans, in the vicinity of New Orleans East, down into St. Bernard Parish. And he said, woe to any colonizer that crosses this line. And those Maroons held that. They drove the colonizers out of the bayou for generations and decades. San Malo was killed in battle. However, none of the Maroons were actually ever stopped. Just because the leaders were killed, they were not stopped because they had separated cells, so to speak. You could never find them all in one place. And they had so many tricks of warfare, guerrilla warfare and survival. And they also traded with rogue slave traders. They brought cypress in. So the colonizers couldn't go in the bayou and get the cypress because they would run into the Maroon land. And that's a problem. Because the Maroons wasn't allowing them to come in the land. So today we have a national park that's named after the Maroons, but it's a backwards name. Everybody should know this name. If you're from New Orleans, you should know this name. They call it Bayou Sauvage.
I've heard of it. Yes.
It means Bayou of the Savages. It is in the east on 90, Old Highway 90, Chef Mentor, all right, between and Old Highway Route 11, okay? And it's in Orleans Parish. Bayou Sauvage, the Bayou of the Savages. So because they couldn't go there, they named it
Of course.
Bayou of the Savages.
Of course.
So but to me, I love the name. It's a great honor. You must be savage when you are fighting for your freedom.
That's right.
So ain't no insult in it. You know, to them it was an insult. But you know, we know who was the real savage.
Do you think that's where we get our tradition of taking negative terms and turning them into something positive and meaningful for us?
That's what we do. So it is very controversial.
Yeah.
You know, we can go to a whole nother
Yeah.
issue with that. But yeah, this is what we do, and this is kind of why I don't mind the term maroon. Okay, but you know, I understand some other people like, now we need to move away from those terms. Okay, cool. Whatever whatever makes you feel like you are ready to uplift yourself and conquer, I think is a good thing. Okay, now, but so get back to San Malo and Cecilia. So they led many families out there. They developed agriculture. They had their homes. They even had some small-scale cattle and whatnot out there. And this, if you know the bayou, anybody who spends time in the bayou, you know the bayou, that is not an easy environment at all. Half of the people in this city and this area, Southeast Louisiana, used to die back in the 1700s because of things like encephalitis, malaria, yellow fever, which basically is encephalitis, etc., and so forth, right? And they didn't know that it was the mosquitoes that was causing all these problems at that time. So these people were living out there with the mosquitoes, the snakes, the gators. They're being hunted by the Spanish. They're being hunted by the French. They're being hunted by other European colonialists in a collaboration with mixed race forces of indigenous people and other Afro people who were under the command of the colonial authorities. Because that's actually how they got San Malo. They never could get San Malo until they put a mixed race force together and attack San Malo. They had the intel to go and find where San Malo was, right? So, you know, it's a great tradition. I have heard that the last Maroons, now I don't know this for absolute fact, but I've definitely heard it, that the last Maroons didn't come out of the bayous till the 1930s and 40s here in Bourboncha, aka Louisiana.
And I want to say something about that, because if we look at the modern times that we're in right now, like we're talking about the Maroons going, you know, being able to live outside of the modern world, being able to have a survivalist mindset in order to be able to survive, even being able to live underwater and using straws to breathe when they knew that the colonizers were there to hunt them. You know, but aren't we kind of in the maroon period now on the earth? You know, black and brown people.
Have we ever left it? Have we ever emerged from that job?
Well, some of us might have had a veil over the eyes
Right.
in between time and in the meantime, but now the veil has been ripped away.
Well, I do find that there's some some millennials even that fail to believe that the time of enslavement even occurred. Some might be so arrogant, and I've had these conversations with some, to think that it was almost a choice for our ancestors. And it's funny because the young person that I had this conversation with, I happened to meet at Congo Square. And
Oh my goodness.
and so I'm explaining to him that, you know, you and I would not even have this chance meeting, you know, if all of that did not happen. Something pulled me here, you know. I'm adopted, and from
you're originally from Philly.
I was born in Haiti.
You're born in Haiti, okay.
So
right.
you see, something was pulling me here. Yeah, babule. You see, so I don't understand why there is. Maybe it's that wanting, that feeling to or that need to be in bliss all the time. whether it's ignorance or
Or
otherwise.
the Haitian roots and connection here, which is very deep.
Yeah, I've always been drawn here.
Right.
But for these, for some of these young folks, I find it bewildering when I hear them say that they don't believe in this time period of our history, of our past, or well, I can't really say that really happened. This is what some books say. This is what some people say, and don't really.
I've never heard that.
I've tried to get across, and I just encourage
them.
them to come out to Congo Square, just to learn a little something.
Well, they have
Feel a
to.
little something.
I mean, I think that races of people will die from ignorance. I mean, to say that our ancestors that was all a lie is a slap in their face.
That's what I said too.
It's people have to understand history, but a lot of people don't read anymore. They listen to what a YouTuber might say or somebody else might say instead of reading for themselves.
Exactly.
But if they really read and understood why we older quote people, regardless of our age, why are we so invested in it?
Right.
Because we saw the struggle. We saw all that. But bringing it higher to the music, how can we invoke change now? So we decided to put together music that's going to invoke change. And the music that we write is original music. It's inspired through the reverence of our ancestors. It's also inspired through by encouraging those that are coming behind us to stand firm. And I think in this time we're in like you said, we can argue that we've never left this period, but we are certainly in a maroon cycle on the Earth planet now, where people are understanding the importance of growing their own food and living outside of off the grid, and understanding that this system is not going to support us and never has. So let's try something new that's going to work for us and better that's going to work for us, and pull our families sometimes out of the cities or whatever our reality is. But I think that it's important for us to not forget. And I've even had some people, like you talked about millennials, I've even had some people that say, well, we never came from Africa.
Right.
And that's entirely what you want to believe.
Right.
Everyone has to believe what's right for them. But that's not personally the side I